DC Comics are starting to announce some of their new projects that are going to be released in May of 2022. We're getting a new Batman miniseries from Rogue One, a Star Wars story screenwriter Gary Whitta and artist Darrick Robertson on a new 8-issue miniseries called Batman Fortress. Thank goodness we're going to get some more Batman because I cannot get enough of that character. DC Comics really does seem to think that the only thing DC Comics readers are looking for these days is Batman. I understand the character sells better than every other character, but it is getting... No, it's not getting out of hand. It's so far out of hand, it's not even funny. Like, how am I supposed to react? I am so burnt out on Batman. It's not even fun to read the comics anymore. When it comes to Tuesday and I have to start reading all the Batman comics from DC, it's half of their line that's coming out. For those of you not in the know, Whitta and Robertson have worked in the past at Image Comics on a series called Oliver. What that means for a Batman series, I'm not really sure. I don't know that it means a whole lot, but they have worked together, so they at least will be familiar with each other. Robertson himself, Darrick Robertson, certainly knows a lot about Batman. He's been writing a lot of the stories within Tales of the Dark Knight. Pretty good artist, not the best in the history of the world, but a good artist, and will certainly be a benefit to Gary Whitta as far as being familiar with the character and being familiar with how to write comic books. He actually writes as well. As far as the details, we do have a few of them. It says global power and communications are disrupted and Earth is plunged into chaos when an unknown alien ship enters Earth's atmosphere, but the world is left wondering where Superman is. The Man of Steel is mysteriously absent, so it looks like this is a job for Batman, who must gather together the remainder of the Justice League to combat the alien threat. Judging by the details that we do have there, it does appear that this would be an out-of-continuity Elseworlds. If DC Comics still had Elseworlds, their continuity is so screwed up right now. I don't even know what to feel about the Omniverse. I think Elseworlds was a part in that. Maybe it happened on Earth Prime. I'm not really sure, but it certainly isn't going along with the main through points in DC Comics ongoing series. Everyone knows that Superman's gone, and they know why he's gone. He's gone off to Warworld to free slaves. He obviously took the authority with it. That hasn't been going very well for him. If you haven't been reading Philip Kennedy Johnson's Action Comics, you need to be reading the Warworld saga. It is absolutely badass, and it doesn't mix in with any of the DC continuity because he's like a galaxy away. It is fan-fucking-tastic. I don't do a lot of fan-fucking-tastics here on the channel, but that one absolutely deserves it. Of course, we do know that Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Clark Kent will both be dying in Justice League 75, but they will have their ongoings with still stories. And of course, in Bruce Wayne's case, he'll probably have about 14, maybe 20 miniseries going on at the same time. DC Comics is really fucked. They are irking me so bad. It is hard to be a DC Comics fan right now because nothing makes sense. Their entire universe is chaotic right now. And I am glad to see that Superman finally gave up on Earth. This actually does fall in line with continuity. If you've been reading Superman Son of Kal-El from Tom Taylor, superstar Tom Taylor, you will know that Clark Kent never really considered Earth his home anyway. Why would he fight to protect it? He never felt like he was at home here. He always felt like an outsider. So why would he stick around Earth and try to protect it, even though his wife and his son and all his friends and family are there? He's like, man, I just never felt like I was home anyways. So maybe there is continuity in DC Comics. We do have a few more key details. It also looks like the part of Batman's plan might be to take over Superman's Arctic headquarters as the titular fortress. As DC says, Whitta and Robertson joined forces to raid the Fortress of Solitude, but wherever his base of operations, Batman must also contend with quelling a crime wave on the streets of Gotham City that is blacked out without power. And according to the publisher, the story will turn everything you know about Superman upside down. How long before everything of note and every character of note will no longer belong to these other characters we associated with them, and they're just all going to be moved over and be part of Batman's story and his ongoing quest? You know, he's already losing Lex Luthor in this Batman series. You know, I imagine John Kent will be adopted by Bruce Wayne pretty soon. Maybe he'll be a new Robin. I expect Bruce Wayne to bed and marry Lois Lane in the not too distant future and essentially take everything that you can take away from the Superman team. He's not even going to have the Fortress of Solitude. I imagine he's going to set up shop and create his own Batcave right there in the Fortress of Solitude. Get Kellex the hell out of here. He ain't got what it takes to work in the Batcave. Unfortunately, it feels like DC are really on board that the only thing that moves the needle in their universe is Batman himself. Superman has become an afterthought. He's no longer thought of as a mainstream A-list superhero, which is shocking. that the character could fall from grace this fast. Even when Brian Michael Bendis was writing Superman in action and it was terrible, the series was still in the top 30, top 25, both of them, for the majority of his run there. And now, Superman's nowhere to be found. It's really unfortunate. If that's going to be the case, it's time to send everything over to Batman. It's time for him to have the lasso of truth. He probably needs himself an invisible jet. Definitely needs himself one of them damn power rigs. What else can we give him? Let's give him crypto while we're at it. You know what I mean? In the not too distant future, everything will belong to Batman. This is a quote from artist Darrick Robertson. This has been my first opportunity to collaborate with my Oliver co-creator Gary Whitta for DC on a character that is one of my all-time favorites to draw. I'm having the best time creating the art for this series with my pal and original The Boys editor Ben Abernathy at the helm. It's been a dream project with a lot of fun twists and surprises ahead for readers. Ben Abernathy is quickly becoming a derogatory term on this channel. He is the Batman group editor. There's no doubt that the man is likely more than overwhelmed with the amount of Batman content that is out there. Obviously, a lot of those are on DC Black Label, so those would be Chris Conroy. But you will see Ben Abernathy's name on a lot of projects that have been very bad lately. You're definitely going to see him on I Am Not Batman. You're definitely going to see he was a big part of Joker War. He's a huge part of Shadows of the Bat, and they've kind of all sucked. So a lot of what Ben Abernathy has been putting out of his DC editorial office has not been good. Actually, the best stuff has been coming out of DC Black Label, in my opinion. If Batman the Fortress is going to be good, it's likely going to be in spite of Ben Abernathy and his editorial team at this point. I think that they are so overwhelmed, there's not a chance that anything is getting out there with real good oversight and editorial services on there. I think they're having to fast track and do the very best that they can, but there's a lot of crap sneaking out of that office right now. I also have a quote from writer Gary Whitta. It's always been my dream to write a truly epic Batman story, one that draws inspiration from dark and unexpected corners of the DC universe. The opportunity to once again collaborate with my friend Darrick Robertson makes this all the sweeter. I hope that together we've done justice to some of DC's most iconic characters, while at the same time reinventing everything you thought you knew about them. I am so sorry for Gary Whitta. This is probably something that he has thought about for a very long time. He's obviously a comic book fan. Writing Batman, a Batman miniseries, and your buddy that's done a lot of good Batman work in the past is with you. This is the absolute worst time to write Batman. The market is so overwhelmed and so flooded with so many titles, it's really hard to stand out. Even if you write a good Batman story, a lot of people might not even read it because there's so many Batman titles with actual pretty big names on them that people are familiar with, and they have to make their decisions. What's going on the pull list? What's going in the budget? I might not be able to afford all the Batman stories right now. And there have been so many bad ones coming out of the office of Ben Abernathy that though I even trust that the editorial staff are going to do it, I don't really know who this Gary Whitta guy is. He's never written a DC comic before. I think I'll take a skipperoonie on this one. Maybe we'll wait for the trades and see what the reviews are like. This is an absolute terrible time to be making your debut at DC Comics, and an even worse time to be making your debut at DC Comics on a Batman title. I do wish Gary and Darrick the best of luck on this project. I want it to be a success. I want it to be great, and I really hope it is. But everything DC Comics are currently doing is absolutely working against them and the project, Batman the Fortress, being a success in the long run and ever really being discovered or kind of breaking out, because DC Comics have gone far too hard in the paint with Batman titles. For those of you who are interested, Batman the Fortress #1 does go on sale May 24th. So definitely, if you're interested, put it on your pull list and hopefully have some room for this. But it's not really a great time to be making your debut at DC or on a Batman title, in my opinion. As you can tell, I'm a bit overwhelmed by the amount of Batman content right now. I made a video. I talked with my good friend Josh, who works at BatmanNews.com. He had a lot of the same sentiments I do, that it feels like work and it's no longer fun to be a Batman reader. Definitely check this out if you're not familiar with all the mistakes DC Comics are making on Batman right now.